Yeah, that meme on the screen pretty much sums it up. What a season it's been, and it's only October. What a week it's been. All the things that have happened up to now. It's an eventful one, but we're back. It's Friday night. It is just after 9 o'clock. And of course, you know what that means. It must be time for that Friday feeling. And yeah, it is a blockbuster one. As I just said there, it's been an eventful season and an eventful week. All the stuff that's happened just this week, we could fit into an entire 9-month season, but no, it's been absolutely carnage. And yeah, we've got a lot to get into because on top of all that, on top of all the managerial changes and just all the chaos and mental statements flying around, there's a rather big game this weekend. Have you been living under a rock? If it's snuck up on you, yes, we are playing the old enemy Rangers at Hampden in a League Cup semi-final, a game and a tournament that I think both teams, for different reasons, have to win because both teams have been a riot this season. So could it be the worst game ever? It could be worse than the last one in September, which was a pretty bad game. We'll wait and see. There's a lot of variables that we're going to get into. But yeah, that'll be happening on Sunday. We'll be talking about that. But of course, tonight I'm joined by the wise man of the bus. He's Canada's favourite Tim. I'm sure he's got a lot to say on what's happened this week because the Brendan bell will not be ringing anymore this coming season. But Liam, Punked Up Ward, Greenlaw, how are you doing, sir? Have you caught your breath yet this week?
Mate, you're obviously talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, aren't you, Phil?
The Blue Jays are flying in the
series, right?
Yeah, man. Aye.
Yeah, it's like nobody will talk to me. I'm dying for conversation. I want to talk to somebody about what's going on this week, right? So thank God for the WhatsApp and some of the stuff that I go on and that, because it's nobody here talking about Celtic, but my God, it's consumed me. It's consumed me since Monday. As soon as Monday happened, I was like, all right, I was trying to just process and put it all together. It is like, I mean, you couldn't write this. I mean, if this was like a series of Succession or something, you know, with Brian Cox and, you know, the poison letter after the resigning, sacking, the prodigal son returns. It's like, my God, it's just like pulling out all the box office tropes and memes you can, and let's just see which makes this the most interesting club in the world to follow. I mean, God, we are the most fun. I mean, it's no like it's pull your hair out fun some of the times, and we all take a drink now fun, but it's fun. It's just it's always something. So I'm looking forward to talking about it and hearing some of the opinions out there as well, because
never a dull moment, Liam, with Celtic Football Club, as Fergus Buchanan always said. It's not always easy supporting Celtic, but it's certainly worthwhile. It's a statement that still rings true to this day. And so, yeah, an eventful one, but yeah, we will get into all of that. But of course, before we go any further, before we get into the crux of tonight's show, tonight's Friday feeling, you know what to do. You can do all that good stuff. And the good news is we passed 1,000 subscribers this week. So thank you. Everybody, I put up a message on the YouTube community page thanking everybody who's taken the time to subscribe and keep the bus in your life that wee bit longer. So again, can't thank you enough for that. It's been a massive milestone to hit the 1,000, and why stop there? Let's keep on going. This bus keeps on moving along. So thanks for doing that. And if you discover us tonight through the algorithm, through the magic of the YouTube algorithm, and you like the cut of the jib, then by all means hit the subscribe button again. And obviously hit the bell notification, and you'll know when we are on the road. And of course, you can hit the like button. That will obviously help us get a bit of traction in the algorithm. And let's see who is in the comments tonight. It's getting busy already, Liam. Let's have a wee look who's came along on this Friday feeling journey with us tonight. Jim Dolan is here. Chris D is here. Joe Henry's here. Smell the Glove is here. Patrick McLaughlin's here. 420 somewhere is here, and he's just also gifted a membership as well. Thank you very much, 420. Who else have we got? James Kennedy's here. Oh, the Pope is in. The Pope is here, everybody. Say hello to the Pope. He's in. Who else have we got? Oh, in fact, 420's gifted 2 memberships. 3 memberships. He's going crazy. He's going absolutely mental with these gifted memberships. Thank you very much, 420. He also got Ian McIntosh is here. Parkhead Boy is here. I'm going to star that comment for Smell the Glove because that's a good question to lead on. What else have we got? Who else? I don't know, shouted yet. Billericay Boy's here. Graham Tyrrell's here. He says, ding, ding, the Brendan bell shall no longer ring. Yeah, seems to be the case. The Greg Taylor Klaxon and the Brendan bell are no more. What do you find a new gimmick? we'll need to find a new gimmick, mate. And yeah, so thanks everybody for joining in. Get involved in the chat tonight. I'm sure it'll be lively. Let us know your opinions on everything going on, and obviously what you think of the game coming this Sunday. And what else can you do? Of course, you can get a Boys in the Bus membership if you wish for $1.99 a month. No content will ever be behind the paywall or Patreon or whatnot, but hey, you do get a virtual Celtic scarf next to your name on YouTube. I mean, what more could you want? And also, it does keep Diesel in the tank and keeps the Boys in the Bus channel going along nicely. And of course, you can share the link of the new channel far and wide if you happen to be on Twitter and you see the Twitter account tweeting about a show. Then by all means, retweet it and help spread awareness. And finally, I always like to just mention that we have got a link to our audio files as well. Every week I'll update that with the latest shows. So if you like to catch up via audio, if you've not got time to sit down in front of your telly or your computer and watch us live, then by all means you can catch up on there. And our SoundCloud link is in the description below. Yes, with all that said and done, for that, let's get into it. And just a funny question to start on. Liam will be delighted. Greg Taylor and Brendan Rodgers gone in the same season, Liam. I think it's time to admit, Liam, that everything's gone a little bit wrong since Greg Taylor left. Are you finally ready to take that step and admit that ever since Greg Taylor's wrong, everything's been going a bit Pete Tong at Celtic?
I don't know if that's the reason. I think that was just part of it. You know, I think, okay, it's possible to be right twice, you know. Greg Taylor's not exactly tearing it up in the Greek league, by the way. Just you know, so
no, it's just the timing of it. I just found that convenient. I'm like, ever since Greg Taylor's left, things have been a bit chaotic. Maybe he was the glue that was holding the dressing room together, Liam. All that talk about what a great character he is in the dressing room. Maybe he was after all. Who knows? But let's get your thoughts in, Liam, because obviously you have not been on since last week, and a week is a long time in football. A week is a long time in the world of Celtic. I was on Tuesday night with Connor and Regan. Obviously, a lot of channels went live on Monday night when it was all just going off, and I thought there's no point in jumping on. Like every single major Celtic YouTube channel's live right now. We'll wait till all the facts come out and get all the story at least, because it was just breaking news after breaking news on Monday night. We'll let it all gather up, then we'll go and do a show on Tuesday. But like the JFK assassination, Liam, where were you when you heard the news that Brendan Rodgers had resigned and then the statement that came out from Dermot Desmond that followed it?
Well, it was weird. What time did it come out that night? I mean, I think
9:44 is the timestamp on the Celtic website, 9:44 p.m. for the Brendan announcement.
I seen it just about lunchtime on Monday. So I had to feel, I think I had a meeting or something that day, and yeah, and then it just hit me, and I was just like, what the? But you know, I wasn't shocked. I was shocked at some of the stuff that happened after that. But you know, I thought he gave it away. I thought he gave it away in his interview after the Hearts game when he started being cute again. He went overly cute. He went into that mode, and it was about left-sided defenders and left players. And then people are putting up the internet of him talking about Konecki coming in when he first came in. And there he is. Footage. You know, Brendan Rodgers talking about how he's versatile, can play him on both wings. You know, and it's like, so you're wondering, well, what's he talking about? This left-sided players and left-sided that. It just sounded to me like he was being really cute again. And the draw, I was sort of wasn't expecting us to do well. I wasn't expecting us to be as powder puff as what we were. I felt bad for the Dean Murray boy. Just Dean Murray, I liked him. I thought he had all the attributes, but when you see every single goal and you look at it and you dissect it and all that, it's like, oh, all right, there's it's no physicality thing or it's no a technique thing. I think there's a turning off thing. And if you're one of the guys that turns off, that's no position for you. We've seen it with Walsh, we've seen it with Hendry, we've seen it with Ellie. You got everything else, but somehow you can't stay focused and you can't get engaged enough to, you know, react in the times that you need, you know, and it's that split second that makes you a good player or a bad player. So anyway, yeah, I wasn't so, and then when the whole sacking came down, yeah, it was that. I was surprised at how quick the letter from Desmond came out. And I was like, oh, fuck. Okay, so maybe they're seeing what we're seeing as well. And I just try to think, okay, well, if I just look at this as the sacking of Rodgers, he does look like he's been very difficult to work with. Yeah. You know, and I know our board, I don't want to get clamped for I'm not apologising for the board of that, but you just see it. This cuteness, this, I don't know, this sort of like ego bullishness to do things his way, that he couldn't possibly wrong, that there could be another system that would benefit the players that he has right now. Yep. And he wants to stick to his guns so much that he would rather punish the fan base than play the players in the position that would probably suit them best, other than what he had penciled in his imaginary recruitment scenario. You know, and so, because we've moved past that. So the fans haven't to give up in the season. They're still paying season ticket money and all that. They didn't get their window either, but they're not expecting a manager to come and start looking like he's phoning it in. And it looked like he didn't get his way, and he was going to show us in different ways, all the ways that he's been, you know, offended by the board and stuff like that, and that we were going to back him in that as well. That somehow we were all going to be, it would be him and us against the board. And it's not, I mean, the fans still have legitimate complaints with the board. That's not going away. In fact, that's but you can see as well, two wrongs don't make a right. And I think, you know, I keep calling them Ben and J-Lo. They just don't, they're not good for each other. Yeah. And so we've got rid of the one that we can right now. You know, the other thing, I mean, seems to be easier to get rid of a royal than it does to get rid of a Celtic board member. You know, we thought that was possible. So who knows? You know, let's see where this goes. But I think it was the right decision by the board, and I think there's a lot of other stuff that are gone with the board did wrong as well too. The whole letter, the whole communication channel, that whole thing that has to be looked at as well. And yeah, I'm just and then you want to talk about the good part though?
Well, just on also something that you said there about the, you know, talk about the, you know, the board and whatnot. I mean, we've talked plenty about the board this season and what they've done, but I felt like in the last few days, again, just a bit of divisiveness through the fans. It's like both can, you know, both answers can be correct. The board have played their part. Brendan Rodgers has played his part. The players as well. You know, there may be some players who were, you know, try to get rid of the manager. We've seen football teams do that. You know, Liam, you'll appreciate this because obviously you're a film buff, but in the film Full Metal Jacket, there's a quote in that always sticks in my mind for stuff like that. It's about one of the sergeants when they're out in the field in Vietnam says it's one big shit sandwich and everyone's got to take a bite. Pretty much that's how I feel about Celtic this season. It's like Brendan Rodgers has played his part. He's not done himself any favours with the way he's behaved, how stubborn he's been, some of his team choices, the cute press conferences that he does, the board, as I say, the transfer policy, the lack of communication. It's all been a bit of a shambles. And yes, I feel like everybody's played their part in the events of what's happened here. But as you say, the one thing that we could actually change, and from a football standpoint, as much as I've loved Brendan Rodgers and his 2 times at Celtic, I've got to admit it wasn't working. Something had to change. Something had to give. And yeah, here it is. It is given, essentially. And yeah, Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney are in temporary charge for the time being. But you said something about, let's talk about the good stuff from this. So, Liam, what would you like to focus on now?
Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, of course. So, Martin.
Okay, how do you go? And I'm getting up right now, Keys. I went from underwhelmed to like, right, so on paper, and this is ageism, and I think I'm actually taking part in ageism here, even though I think I get it against me creatively and stuff. Yeah, I was thinking, well, 72, it's like, oh, you know, it's like we've 20 years since he was here, 6-7 years since he's managed a team and all that, and then the more I'm thinking, well, what is it you want them to do? You want them out there training with the players and playing it at 72? No, he's got to be doing the one thing that we thought Rodgers was going to be good at, and that was motivating players and getting them there. And then I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, he's seen the Lisbon Lions. He knows all the stories. He's been into Euro champion. He's won a Euro twice, European Cup. Just all the boxes and all that. And then as soon as I seen him in the press conference, and he just sit down and that, and it's like, guys, it's like finding an old leather jacket in the back of your cupboard. It looks amazing. It's just came back in style, you know. And just the more you looked at him and the more you listened to him, and I was just thinking, all right, like I missed that. I really missed that. Because you can say what you want about Martin O'Neill and the way he talks and all that. And he talks from his heart, and I think, and he's a pundit and all that. He knows how to turn a phrase, and he's a lawyer. He understands language, and he knows how to just say the right things and all that. And I think that's the difference we have between. I believe Martin O'Neill. I never believed Brendan Rodgers. I always thought he was just bullshitting and stuff. And with Martin O'Neill, I think there's a sincerity that goes back, and I think part of it's part of our Celtic DNA. He's still connected to all the good things. Imagine having to go in the dressing room and asking the boys who'd heard of Martin O'Neill. Of course they know. They see him in the World Cup as a pundit and as an expert. Somebody that talks, that can sit there and school boys when they try to get wide with him, not knowing his credentials and what he's had. That time when he's trying to pull him up, what he's won, and looked at me and says, "I've won the big cup twice."
It was it Fabio Cannavaro, I want to say, was one of the pundits. I'm pretty sure he was doing because Cannavaro's won the World Cup, but he was doing the punditry that year. But I don't think he's won the Champions League. But I'm sure that's who it was. There was two other pundits in the studio, and Martin O'Neill was like, "Well, I've won the European Cup twice. They haven't between them." So yeah, I remember that one. It was the World Cup in 2014. I want to say it was on the beach in Brazil. It was in that one, working for ITV.
That's the sort of swagger I want to see at Celtic. Call it Celtic da, whatever you like. But that's the swagger I want to see. I want to see a guy walks in that can show you medals, not a Gucci effing belt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just I say with the new stuff, obviously we'll get on to talking about the game food, but there was another part of the story as well. So Typhoon McFostery has asked us about the John Kennedy thing. Now, what about the treatment of John Kennedy? Are you both sympathisers? Both sympathisers? Or Brendan sympathisers? Or John Kennedy sympathisers? Regarding the Kennedy departure, I think it was time for him to go. I do think it was. Now, it was handled, surprise, surprise, it wasn't handled very well communication-wise, because it was very, very much just, who cares, essentially, the Celtic board treated it as. It was mentioned 2 days later in a statement which had a few people that had left, and John Kennedy's was in there, and it was like, I mean, as much as he was, there was definitely a dislike to Kennedy from a lot of the fan base, because when things were going wrong at any time over the last 10 or so years, he was like the common link in the dugout, and it was always he was getting blamed, even though he wasn't. There was plenty of people blaming him as being the defensive coach when he wasn't actually the defensive coach. I don't think we've got a coach which is specific for defence. He was just the assistant manager of the first team coach, but lots of fans would always home in on that. And then there was that weird period with the body language analysis and all that. And I think John Kennedy would have been aware of how he was seen by a lot of fans. And maybe, him himself, before just thought, maybe it is time for me to move on. Maybe Brendan Rodgers, if he's got something else lined up, which wouldn't shock you, maybe Kennedy's going with him. But yeah, maybe John Kennedy's 27 years, but he should have definitely got a better sort of thank you for your efforts, Shaun, than what he got, which was just a wee passing mention and a statement bundled in with a bunch of other people. What do you think of that one, Liam?
Well, you can see the parallels between the Friday the 13th franchise as well. I think that's been going about 28 years, and John Kennedy maybe he's nearly outlasted it, or he's coming close to it. But he should go as Jason Voorhees for Halloween, because the amount of managers and the stuff that he's survived. There's so many times when we've looked at our defensive structure and our how we defend free kicks and all that sort of stuff, and it just seems to have never really turned a corner under Kennedy, or when it did, I don't know, it was because we were more on the attack, like under Ange football, where it was just now. But when we are threatened, when you don't get many chances and you're defending these set pieces and all that, that's where you've seen some of our weaknesses. And a lot of people say, well, he's not a defensive coach. Yeah. But a lot of people, the people that leave that talk about him, are usually all defenders.
True, actually, aye. He was a defender, obviously, himself, and he was a player.
I think it's just time to go. I mean, change is hard, But any Alabama 3 fans out there, change must come from a barrel of a gun. Well,
something that didn't change, smell the glove for this isn't Strachan's laptop, the defence coach of set plays. Gavin Strachan is still in the building. That's something that I thought about through the week. See if Martin O'Neill had said no to coming in as interim, I have a funny feeling that Gordon would have been the next one that Dermot would have called, and my first thought was, poor Liam. Imagine that. We're getting rid of Brendan Rodgers and Gordon Strachan was to walk back in the door, but we've still got a Strachan in the building, it seems. Gavin was kept on, mate.
I'm convinced you could replace Gavin with Strachan with ChatGPT. I mean, I don't know what he's doing in that iPad, but I'm sure when we get a hooked up Tesla robot sitting on the bench going through, that will just be, trust us, we'll have a ginger one and his last name will be Strachan. But no. But yeah, I don't know how he survived. Well, you do know how he survives, right? Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where we go with him. I'm really hoping that if we look and we're looking at somebody who comes in that's got like a real structure to him and brings in other people, that maybe he's going to make some of those changes as well. And again, we get such little transparency. That's what you've seen in Celtic TV Unfiltered. I don't even know if Gavin Strachan does a good job or not. He got himself in shape as an older guy. Give him credit for that, But I don't know what he does with people and what his role is actually, other than he was handed to us as a Strachan, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw a clip today from Sky Sports News where they were up at Lennoxtown and Gordon Duncan was reporting and the camera was zoomed in and it was Martin O'Neill and he was walking with Gavin Strachan and Gordon Duncan was sort of like doing a play-by-play on it, saying, Martin O'Neill just asking Gavin Strachan his advice here, and I'm just looking at the telly going, no, don't ask Gavin Strachan's advice, don't at all, because he is synonymous with, again, like you said, a lot of fans just don't know what exactly he does, and so when things have gone wrong in recent years, it's always Kennedy and Strachan that always seem to get the finger pointed at them, because they are surviving members from the infamous COVID season on that backroom team, but Gavin Strachan does stick around, and for the time being, been a bit of a reshuffle. Obviously, Shaun Maloney's came in now. As you say, Martin O'Neill's definitely the motivator there. Shaun Maloney's going to be doing all the tactics. When I was at the game on Wednesday night, I kept my eye on the sideline quite a few times just to watch I just talked there about body language. Well, I was doing a bit of body language policing as well, just watching the bench. And obviously, Martin O'Neill was up on the sidelines. Well, a lot more animated than Brendan Rodgers was at times this season. It was very Tony Mowbray-esque when Brendan Rodgers stood at the sideline. And Maloney was up quite a lot, shouting instructions, which again I expected, because for all intents and purposes, Maloney is effectively doing the coaching and whatnot, and Martin O'Neill is the motivator. He's the figurehead of it all. But in terms of interim, from my point of view, and I said this on Tuesday night to Connor and to Regan, I hope it is interim as can be, because for me, I've said it for a few months now. I said it when Shaun Maloney came in the summer. I said it again on Tuesday night. I was like, he's came in for a reason, because the board have thought if Brendan Rodgers doesn't get to the end of the season, whether he's sacked or he quits, goes to another job or whatever, we've got somebody to fall back on. And I think if we were in a better position, I think Maloney would have just been given the interim spot on his own. But I think the fact that we're in a bit of turmoil this season and it's a bit of a shit show, they've had to pair him up with Martin O'Neill to try and shield it, essentially. I think most fans, I heard like Steve-O on Celtic World Order, they're talking about that as well. I think most Celtic fan media podcasts have kind of clocked that one, that it's essentially, in an ideal world, they would just love a smooth transition to Maloney, but said on Tuesday night, it cannot be Maloney full-time going forward. Interim, yes, by all means, this pairing's okay for now, but I would like to think that they are still doing their due diligence and looking for the next permanent manager, because for me, it's not going to work for me at all if this is the idea going forward, because Maloney is a full-time Celtic manager. I just can't, Liam. I'm tapping out on that one, mate.
Okay, I'm never surprised by what they do, but just intuition, going by his body language and that stuff at the press conference, nah, don't think it's him. Don't think it's him at all. I think he's doing something right now. He might have something else bigger on the horizon that he's waiting for. He might be waiting for Martinez to finish somewhere, and he's wanting to try and lay the structure to be something else. Who knows? Don't know. I mean, but he just didn't give me the vibe that he was going to be taking over as a Celtic manager. Not at all.
I think Ian McIntosh comes up well. Maloney is a good coach, and by all means, I think if Maloney was to be kept on as a member of the coaching team under a new manager, I think that's fine. But yeah, he's nailed it here. he's coach of the Belgian national team, but he lacks a charisma to be a number one. And to me, that is a massive thing. When you're the manager of the team, you're the guy that's meant to motivate and lead. It's like somebody like Martin O'Neill has that aura around him, and Ange Postecoglou has that aura. And as much as we malign Brendan Rodgers, he's got that charisma and that aura. But Shaun Maloney walks into the dressing room to have a rousing team talk. I just don't see it. But by all means, when it comes to tactics, if he's part of the coaching setup, I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. But the idea of him being the manager full time, and again, it's just because of PTSD, Liam, with the Celtic board. We've been in this position twice where a manager's left mid-season and Neil Lennon came in both times to cover. And it was that case of the first time in 2010, he came in, he managed 8 games, blew it in the cup semi-final against Ross County, but won the 8 league games. And it was a case of, right, we're through the end of the season, that Mowbray season's over. Neil Lennon, thanks for coming in and covering. But no. The Celtic board, wait a minute, Neil, you're not going anywhere. Get back here. We've got a contract off you. And obviously they gave him the job full time at the time. And obviously it worked out well in the end. Neil Lennon's first spell, it did work out okay in the end. But I remember at the time being quite underwhelmed, and many fans were. And of course, the second time Brendan Rodgers leaves in March, Neil comes in, the last 8 games or whatever, sees it out, wins the title. But we were well ahead at that point, wins the Scottish Cup. And again, every fan was like, thanks, Neil, for coming in. You've left us on a massive high this time. Thanks for everything, but not once again. They were offered. So just with history repeating itself, and just from PTSD, we've had a manager leave. We've had a former player promoted from another position within the club to be part of the interim setup. And it's just like, all that's going through my head is this is what they're going to go with. So I'm glad that you've picked up on that, Liam. You're making me feel a bit more at ease at that one, because I just can't. As I say, I just cannot do it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just seeing them actually looking for a manager, I mean, here's a question I want to ask you, and I want to ask the bus, right? So with John Kennedy going, I always thought one of the best things Brendan Rodgers did, gave him a wee bit of credit, in his first season was when he brought in Kolo Toure.
Yeah.
And you've seen managers come and do that, and they bring in somebody for the old guard. Well, it's funny, like O'Neill's only had he's always had 2 favourite sons. Number 1 son, another number 1 son, Maloney and Petrov.
Well, that's true, actually. Aye,
they were the ones that went to Aston Villa with him. Petrov's been quiet lately. I'd love to see Petrov come in and get a coaching role in their squad or something. I know he's been doing his licenses and that, right?
Right, okay.
It'd be good to see him come in, because I thought he was one of these players that got it. He knows what it's like as a young player to transition to a new country and not speak the language. But he also knows what it was like to be thrown in a room with legends, but real men and all that, and that expected him to behave like a man when he was like 19 and 20-year-old.
Yeah.
So I think he'd have some knowledge to share. He's captain his country. He's captain an EPL side. He's captain Celtic. And a lot of people can say, I don't like the way he left. Well, if you look at the way people have been leaving right now, I think he left us in a really, really good position. A lot more than Brendan Rodgers did. And he was welcomed back with open arms by some. So I'd go for Petrov. If not, I'd replace Kennedy, Bobo Baldi.
Bobo Baldi coming in as a good. Kieran Tierney would like that. I guess Kieran Tierney could do with some motivation right now. I guess he would love that if Big Bobo was around again, because that's his favourite player, wasn't it? Right. But let's try and do a bit of speculating now about the management position, because there's a lot of names flying around already, Liam. Is there anything that's jumped out at you so far from the names that have been linked? Is there anything that's giving you a bit of inspiration there where you're like, would you mind that? Or is it just a case of you don't try to get too excited? Because as we saw just recently with Rangers and their managerial hope or managerial hunt, every time they got a bit of hope that it was going to be this, it ended up not being that. And then, just reverted back to obviously Danny Rule in the end. But you're thinking, don't get too excited. As I said earlier on, Celtic have got a wee track record of kind of letting us down when we're in this position. So how are you feeling? And is there any names that are inspiring you right now?
I mean, thank God we've got social media and Google and things like that, so that we can actually search these guys. I mean, imagine digging through old magazines and 442 and all that to try and find who some of these guys you're talking about. Because you really have to dig deep to figure out who they are. We're not going for a big name at this point. But I mean, yeah, if you look through it, and we're looking for a young manager, and we're looking for somebody that's out there, I think hopefully they're doing enough due diligence that they're ticking all the boxes and they have a really good idea of who's coming in, and I'm really hoping Martin O'Neill's part of that process, that he's the one that's helping identify and look and seeing what will be the best one to not just move this squad forward, but work better with the club and all that, and hopefully with some new people coming in as well. Knowing that there's going to be a change, there's going to be turmoil, and okay, if there's going to be a massive change in the boardroom or something like that, let's make sure we've got somebody on the park that's not going to add to turmoil, that's got like a bit of savvy about them, that they're going to be able to keep everything controlled, so that the stuff that happens in the boardroom stays in the boardroom. It's too much. We shouldn't know who all these board members are. It's no football. Never seen any of them in as I said, an old shoot annual or anything. Nobody's putting in pictures of board members. Nobody's built a statue to a board. Anyway, so yeah, I'm up for seeing who they get so far. Yeah, the McKenna one. He looks really interesting. So it's going to be up to me to try and dig about and find more about him to convince myself.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I said on Tuesday, like Conor Regan, like I feel that the Celtic job should be somebody who's done something in the game a bit. You want somebody who's got a bit of pedigree, a few trophies here and there. If they're going for a young manager, if they've done something even in the sort of early stages of their career that's quite noteworthy, then fine. So I look at Kieran McKenna and what he did with Ipswich to go from League One into the Championship and right into the Premier League. Now, unfortunately, the English Premier League is these days, it's always a case of the three teams that come up seem to go straight back down, and then the three teams that have gone down come back up because of the parachute payments. It's been a bit of it's kind of been like that for the last 6 years. A lot of the same teams, Burnley, Sheffield United, they come down, they go back up, Leicester, these types of teams. But what he did was he came up from League One, his first season, got them promoted, and then he goes into that league, and I say all the teams that have came down with all those parachute payments, he managed to break the mould and finish second, got them up, and I say kind of doomed to fail. This season, I think they're sitting 12th now, but it's a case of they're actually 3 points off the playoffs, and they did sell their two best players, which were Amari Hutchison and Liam Delap, Rory Delap's son, which is quite interesting because long throws to be back in fashion nowadays in football, so that's quite appropriate. But yeah, so obviously he's not a million miles away from getting them promoted again, and obviously he was asked about this at the press conference yesterday that he did with for the Ipswich game this weekend, and he spoke about it for about 7 minutes or so apparently. And actually, he just said exactly what you'd expect any manager to say. Oh, I've not really given any thought, and I'm all concentrated on Ipswich. No manager's going to sit there and go, yeah, can't wait to get to Celtic and all that. He's not going to do that, because I've seen a few fans in a panic already, like, oh, that's him. He's ruled himself out, or we're not going for him, we're not showing any adventure, because a lot of fans are calling for Kieran McKenna. But I say no manager in the right mind is going to sit there at a press conference well employed by another club and be, oh yeah, I can't wait to talk to Celtic. So at the moment, he's playing it coy, but as people did spot, he didn't come out and deny it. He didn't come out and rule himself out completely. So we'll wait and see on that one. Another one that came up today, and again, take it for what it's worth, Liam, because obviously the newspaper it came from is one that we don't like, is Lee Carsley, who is, of course, the England under 21 manager. He is Irish, so he's an Irish international. And he did have a stint of the England full national team, but I am wary of employing anybody at Celtic who's only done national gigs up to now, because you're only, managing 15 games in a calendar year or something like that. And transfer market's a lot different from having a national pool to pick from. Yes, he has won the Euros 2 Euros on the bounce with England under 21s. But again, can it translate to club football when you're day-to-day? Look at Craig Bellamy, what he's doing with Wales, but he's only managed like 12 games so far and had to play against teams like Liechtenstein and Kazakhstan up to now. He's doing okay in the group, and obviously they could finish second behind Belgium, or they could finish ahead of Belgium and qualify automatically. But I think he's tied up until at least March, because the playoffs are probably the very least Wales can get. So he's probably out the reckoning. But again, international manager, that's all he's done so far. As much as I like the cut of Craig Bellamy's jib, the way he talks about the game and all that, because I've heard a few interviews with him, and obviously a really passionate guy, very fiery, played with us for a short spell and loved it here, was loved by the fans for the short time he was here. again, I just wouldn't take the risk on employing anybody right now as an international manager. If you want to get an example of that, look at when Chris Coleman was the Wales manager. He went into club football after it and got totally found out. So it's like, I don't know, with international, just I'd rather see Bellamy go to a club and do something there before I would bring him into the reckoning. But what about any of those names, Liam? Were any of them tickling your fancy?
Well, you had me till you made your point about the international football, because I would have went for Bellamy. But then again, I'm like social horror, right? I'm just liking the buzz about it. Makes great reading, makes great film. It's a good
He
story.
does that. Remember when he played for us and there was a game against Clyde where apparently he was telling the Clyde players, my Gardner earns more money than you. Right. Remember he used to all that sledging with him? Oh, Jesus.
I was going to say a brass neck, but he didn't really have one, did he?
Oh, he did not. He did not, mate.
So I made James Forrest look giraffe. The Lee Carsley one, okay, so that's interesting as well. If you're trying to dig deep and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, what would the opportunity be there? Well, he's had access to, like, I guess, England under-21 players for the longest time. So, is there another Matt O'Reilly or a Jude Bellingham or something like that within that framework that he knows that would probably benefit from a more grounded game up in Scotland? So that could be like the one side of him that would get me excited. If he had a great network of players, and also as well, he's played against young boys in different teams as well at that level. So seeing that they're all probably like 22, 23 now, does he have a really good sort of list of players that he saw that he thinks it could be better in his system? So those are the things that I would look at. Just so with Bellamy, I think it'd be pure motivation, and I think he's got a talent. I think he's just one of the guys. He's a star, Whatever he's going to do, I think he's going to be good at. Carsley, didn't know much about him. I remember him as a player, just like, it's just...
Do you ever hear the joke about apparently Real Madrid signed the wrong player because him and Gravison were two bald players in the middle of Everton's midfield, and they signed Gravison and realised quickly that Gravison ain't all that. And we, of course, ended up with Gravison and realised maybe they should have signed Lee Carsley. Maybe they got them mixed up in the end because he was actually the better out of the two of them.
So I remember watching some of their games back then when the two of them were playing, and you could actually see that as well. Lee Carsley was a really good player that season for them as well. And they could be mistaken Gravison for some of the stuff, because I had a hard time telling them apart on the pitch as well. Dizan and somebody else. It's like Dizan and Moy. I used to get they two confused as well. Because Dizan Baldy.
Aye, it's but I wonder if Lee Carsley ever was scum Celtic, imagine would Thomas Gravison be up for being a coach? Jesus, could you imagine if that carnage came back in the door? No thank you.
Snooker lads.
Oh, Jesus. Cy Ferry would have a field day when we get rid of him. He'd be up at Celtic Park every day for another Thomas Gravison story. But yeah, there are a couple of names. Obviously, a few things that fans are calling out for, and I've seen it in the chat, like Knutson, the Bodo Glimt manager. That one's been doing the rounds for years. I don't know, I'm 50-50 on that one, because I think he does well there because of the great system that Bodo Glimt have got. Obviously, he, they're just like a great academy, they're great at, developing players. Apparently, he gets a cut of transfer fees for any profits that they make, so I suppose he'll be happy with that. And I'm just then I look at the way the Celtic setup's been for the last few years, and I'm like, don't know if he'd fancy that. But there was a story a while back that I think it was like when we were first sort of looking at him or linked to him anyway, the name was doing the rounds. I'm sure I've seen like a Norwegian sports journalist talking about he likes being at Bodo because, it's his comfort zone essentially, because apparently he'd knocked back a move to Ajax. Like Ajax had approached and he wasn't interested in it. And it's like, if he likes his comfort zone and a team like Ajax didn't tempt him, imagine him in the environment of like a Celtic Rangers game where it's win at all costs. And I'm like, I don't know if he'd want the pressure of that by the sounds of it. So I've got my sort of worries about him. But ultimately, I think with the system he's in, the working out there, I think that's one of the things that benefits him. And I don't know if we're going to do that wholesale change that he would need to obviously to take the job here. And then there's some other mad ones as well doing the rounds, which would just be suicide, but at the same time, would you be surprised with the way the board behave? Because obviously Robbie Keane's name's been doing the rounds. And Jamie O'Hara on TalkSport can shut all he wants because he's his mate and all that, but he's obviously managed a club recently, which will go down very badly with the Celtic fans if he was to walk in the door. So it's like, I think Robbie Keane should be kept far away. You don't want the manager on the first day essentially having a massive divide with a lot of the fan base because of where he chose to manage a couple of years ago. So that would be a disaster for me if that one. I don't care that he's been out in Hungary and won a couple of leagues with Ferencváros. It's like, no, that one is a big no-no for me, Liam.
Kenny Miller, and then he went to after he went to Rangers.
Kenny Miller, Jesus. Oh, God. But overall, the list
what's worse? Well, Maccabee, Haifa Maccabee or Rangers? I don't know.
Well,
we've signed. I think we signed Effie Ambrose for him.
We did. The things have kind of escalated in the last few years in terms of the tensions and that. So I don't think it's a good idea. But at the same time, you would be surprised with Celtic board if they were looking in that market. And it's like, beat the room, but they don't beat the room. That's the problem.
They just answer the phone with the one agent, Didu or whatever his name.
Didu Dahan. Well, Michael Nicholson wants to answer the phone, apparently, when he wants to. But yeah, we'll obviously it's going to rumble on for the time being. But at the moment, obviously Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney interim, and Martin O'Neill could not stress that enough about its interim, it's short term. He kept hammering that home, and he also dropped the line in there about when I listened to the interview that he did with Jim White before he flew up to Glasgow, and he said the club are looking for a young manager now. Take that quote how you want, because keep in mind Martin O'Neill is 73, so young to him could be anything essentially. But I do think the club are probably in that mold of like late 30s, sort of early to mid 40s. I think that'll be the sort of market they'll be looking in at the time being. But it'll rumble on for the next few days. But for the time being, it's Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney, and they've got a rather large game coming up on Sunday. So let's talk about it, Liam, because it is a League Cup semi-final. As I said at the top of the show, could this be the worst game since the last one? And I said that in September when that game was coming up, because the game at the end of last season was an absolute non-event. And then the 0-0 draw at the start of the season was an absolute non-event. But the difference to this one, Liam, is there has to be a winner because it's a cup semi-final. If it has to go all the way to extra time and penalties, so be it. Somebody's going to have to walk away with a win on Sunday and get into that final. What's your initial first feelings as this game approaches? Imagine a month ago when this draw was made after we beat Partick Thistle, and somebody said that when that game comes around, Russell Martin will be sacked and Danny Rule, the former Sheffield Wednesday manager, will be in charge at Ibrox, and Brendan Rodgers will have resigned, and Martin O'Neill and Shaun Maloney will be in the Celtic dugout. How would you even grasp that if somebody pitched that to you a month ago, Liam?
Mate, Oasis is a touring. Martin O'Neill's back in the dugout. It's just rock and roll on the other side of the city. I'm excited about it. I don't think it's going to be a shit game. I think it's got everything to. This is a time for both teams to get their fans back on side. We're in a split stadium, so that's going to attention is going to go through the roof right there. And I think I'm so glad we got rid of Rodgers before this game.
Yeah,
I'm so glad, because now I'm excited about it, because I've seen already things what I like just with the other night there. I really enjoyed that game. I really enjoyed it, and as I said, just seeing Mark, I'm just going to enjoy every game he's here, win, lose or draw, because I forgot how much I really liked that man and how much he is a love for Celtic Football Club and for us the fans, and he's just hard not to like. And so I want to see him do the best. And I'm thinking as well too, it's also, he lets you dream. He lets you dream as a fan, because we've seen it before. And the fact that it's gone and there's been distance and all that, we've heard stories. And that team talk before, big games, the legendary one before Seville and all that, when players talk about Martin O'Neill as a motivator, but being able to say things that both cutting and inspiring at the same time, like different horses, different courses, and that sort of thing. And I feel okay that this is one of these team talks. I think it could be generational. It could be one of these best of all times. Like the in me wants to believe that that's what's going to go before we kick off, that Martin O'Neill's going to go up in there and he's going to tell their boys what the expectations are to play for Celtic, but more important, how to go through this game. You know, it's almost like Jock Stein taking on the Italians with the carnage. Is we know that Martin O'Neill, he doesn't like that. What's it called? Is it XP?
XG, expected goals. That's the analysis thing. Yeah. All the science
and outcomes and all that. And, you know, and this whole sort of data, you know, look at football, you know. I talked about before, I was remembering Greg Taylor and Ralston and all that, they're pulling out their cards where they've got their scores on there. And they both had stinkers the week before, but they were so proud in these numbers. And that's where you always say, well, data doesn't tell you the whole story. How much you get paid doesn't say how good you are. How many games you played doesn't say you were the best in that position and all that. There's lots of stories that get told there. But I think the story on Sunday is Martin O'Neill. I think it's Martin O'Neill, and you want to see what he can do to inspire his play, but and let them go out and play the Celtic way, because he remembers it. Rodgers doesn't. He didn't. He's kidding on. He remembers it.
Yeah.
Martin O'Neill remembers it, and he'll pass that on. He understood it. He's played it. He's the real deal.
Celtic's media team have been quite good in recent years of having cameras in the Hampden dressing rooms. You always notice when they do their end of season documentaries, compilations, you'll always get a clip from either the manager or Callum McGregor or something saying, you know, some words to G up the players and in the dressing room at Hampden, because they'll seem to visit Hampden every season. So, you know, it's always our second home essentially. So I'd imagine there probably will be some Celtic media cameras there in the event that, you know, things go well, and can add it to the end of season compilation. It can be put in there. But yeah, we'll be interested to see what he does say, because that is purely what he is. Therefore, he's out to be that statesman, to give that, you know, charismatic, rousing team talk. And yeah, he's still got that. I mean, people can point to his age, but no, he's still very, very sharp in that sense. You know, he's still got his faculties about him. No problem with that. Yes, he doesn't care about analytics and sports science and all that. Good. Doesn't need to. That's Shaun Maloney's job. Shaun Maloney's job to deal with all that type of stuff and the tactics and whatnot. But Martin O'Neill, if you're looking for a guy that can motivate, and Jesus Christ, he learned under the best in Brian Clough. Because for me, I could listen to coffee stories all day, just like, you know, the stuff that he would come away with to G up players. But yeah, he's learned from the absolute best in that, and even from his first time as Celtic manager, some of the stories you hear about how he used to motivate the players and the banter in the dressing room and whatnot. So I think O'Neill will be. I'd love to be a fly in the wall. So hopefully the video comes out at some point. If we do get the win, and it's a great moment for us, we do get to see what exactly Martin O'Neill did say to them, Liam.
Oh, you'll be telling you'll know in the first 10 minutes when the players in the park, and you see some of the difference in what these guys are playing or trying to do. I think you'll know in 10 minutes. You'll know it by the team selection, and you'll know by what sort of team he's putting out there. And I'm already liking what I'm seeing. I'll tell you one thing I liked about the game the other night, when Tonetsky got involved with Arfield.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I liked the fact that some of the other boys came running in.
They did. That's right. A bit of fisticuffs. Time
to see Trusty come back in there. Boy for Philadelphia, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Get in there, bust a cap in his ass, man. Come on.
Yeah, it was good to see that. That's a good point, actually.
I think we should offset the one tactics I really want to talk about is how we offset Danilo's da on Sunday. So if he's behind their goals, like, do we get Trusty's da? He's from Philadelphia. Bloody got an 8-ball jacket. Buy a few caps in there, you know, like, do we get the Rocky dance? I don't know. I mean, do we get him out and offset Daniel's da?
I saw that clip doing the rounds on Wednesday night. But yeah, the thing is, with the team selection on Wednesday, we'll go back quickly Wednesday just to touch on something. Terry obviously did a fantastic post-match show by himself. First time he's ever done it on his own. I thought he did a fantastic job. I caught the last sort of like half an hour of it because I got in midway through, and I sat in the background of like the StreamYard studio just in the event his connection went haywire. But I was like, I'm not even going to like jump on and like, because he's doing well, he's in good flow. But he made a good point. I did think, being at the game on Wednesday, I thought the first half hour a lot of the old tropes from Brendan Rodgers' time were still there. A lot of, they'd say how habits, die hard, essentially. Old habits die hard. There was a lot of passing it about at the back and a little bit, cutting it a bit fine. If Falkirk had a bit of a quicker striker, he might have closed it down and you have hearts in the mouth and whatnot. But once we get the first goal, things began to open up a wee bit. And, we just took them apart. But early on, Falkirk had a few wee chances. They were passing the ball through us. So initially, my first thought in the early part of the game was, nothing's changed here, man. This isn't great. But we did finish the game positively. And it was the first time we scored 4 goals this season. So we can't really grumble on that one. But yeah, so I say Terry picked up on that through the post-match. But hopefully, when we start the game on Sunday, it's more akin to how we ended the game on Wednesday night, because we can't afford to start slow. Brendan Rodgers kept harping on about quick starts, even though I couldn't tell you the last quick start Celtic had in Brendan Rodgers' time, but he's always harping on about it. But that will be crucial. We'll have to be getting right on about them right away, because we're on a bad run against Rangers as well. We are on a really bad run here, so we need to try and take the game to them, I think, from minute 1, Liam.
Yeah, I wouldn't be as optimistic going into that game with Rodgers there.
Yeah.
I think I liked what I seen on Wednesday night, and I'm thinking going into the game there, I think we're going to see Tierney back in, but my God, he has to find a place for Sirachi. I think
Sirachi's going to play. I think Sirachi will play. He's a ball of energy right now, and Tierney.
They play Tierney at the back instead of Scales.
So, that's a good point. Actually, I could do that. He has played centre back before. But I'm trying to think, I genuinely don't watch Rangers on the regular. I know a lot of Celtic fans do, and that's fine to do. Who is usually their threat down the right-hand side? I say threat, but, who...
Linesman.
The linesman's always a threat, aye. But who even is, Rangers' right-sided attacker? Who is that right now? Because he did so many transfers this summer, I've genuinely lost track. Because I'm trying to think, Sirachi or Tierney, and is the person who's coming down Rangers right?
The Finnish boy, he's their winger now, right?
Somebody in the chat might tell us, but aye. But basically, I'm just trying to think who would be the best. Well, I suppose Tavernier covered. Oh, there you go. Ian McIntosh saying it's Ant-Man. Right. There you go. And obviously Tavernier comes forward as well. But it's just who from our side on the left side of the fence would be best for keeping them at bay. And I think right now with the energy he's got, I think Sirachi with the pace, I would be leaning towards that right now.
I was absolutely jumping off the chair. There was 2 or 3 tackles he did later in the second half. There was one of them that was a middle of the park tackle where he came in sliding in and came in hard and won the ball clean, everything. It was like one of the old Danny McGrain style tackles you used to see, and it was heartwarming. As a man who's idolised that, my left back has always been Marcello. Absolutely,
I love Marcello. Yeah.
And that's what I like to see. I like to see a bit of style. I like to see pace. I like to see aggression. Because I think when you get a dominant left back, I think you can overpower teams. I think that's why Real Madrid were so good. Brazil were so good. You had these the Milan teams with Maldini, and all that. It's like you don't play left back. You play from left back, and those are the it's a great way to cut open a team, and I think if you can get a really influential player in that position, yeah, you'll dominate teams. And so I like what I've seen him so far. Now, if he puts Tierney at left back, can we put him in the middle? Because I still like the tenacity he's got. He's a footballer. He seems that he wants to win above all costs. I'm hoping O'Neill can find a place for him.
No doubt about it.
But I want to see Tierney in the games against Rangers.
Same.
I'm hoping he was sat out for that.
I'm just looking at the bigger picture of the way Tierney's season's gone so far. He's clearly suffering from fitness issues and can't see out a game. And it's like, I'm just looking at the sort of energy that, Sirachi's got, because we want to try and shut down their threats. Because one thing that Rangers have always been consistent on in the last, 5-6 years, whatever it's been, they deliver a good ball into the box at times. They're very much a team that will just ping crosses in and long balls and whatnot. So anything we can shut down out wide is obviously ideal, because right now on the right-hand side, we've obviously got the problem with AJ once again being injured. Ralston did play on Wednesday night. Do you think it'll be Ralston or Donovan?
I thought he played well. I thought that ball that he put into the cross, he was pinging it about. Yeah, I mean, I like Donovan as well too. And, well, I mean, it just looked like O'Neill was getting a tune out of some of the senior players. And I think once he gets a look at Donovan this week, and maybe able to assess whether that would be an improvement or not in Ralston. I think it is. I love Ralston. I thought he played great. Loved that wee assist he got. But yeah, we got to move forward. And I think it's Donovan, Martin O'Neill. You know, it's nice to see him. He'll get a project. Maybe he'll get somebody that he'll revive and this and that. But maybe that one that gets the chance to impress him is Donovan in an Old Firm game. And right now, I trust Martin O'Neill's judgment whether he'll make that call, whether it's Ralston or Donovan, which one will be able to do what he wants him to do, and which one will actually, you know, make an imprint in the game. Yeah. So I'm good either one with him. It's just nice having somebody that's no just trying to fucking bullshit you all the time.
Who do you think will get the? Because this is one of the real intriguing ones. What do you think about the goalkeeper situation? Do you think it'll be Schmeichel now? Because obviously, Sinisalo under Brendan in the first 2 games in this tournament did get them. He did start them. But now things are out the window. We're having a bit of a rocky season. We really need to win this trophy. But Sinisalo's not a bad keeper. That's the thing. He's not bad. Will Martin O'Neill still look at it and go, well, you played the previous 2 rounds and Brendan sort of made it, you were going to be the cup goalkeeper. I don't think there's any risk in playing Sinisalo. Schmeichel has had a lot of flaws shown in recent times. So that's a real conundrum, though, what Martin O'Neill will do there. But I don't think there's a risk with playing Sinisalo, maybe other than the fact he hasn't played a lot. But again, goalkeepers, do they need to play week in, week out because they don't run about like all the other players? I don't know. I've
seen a tweet going around this morning that Michael's didn't train with Schmeichel didn't train with our 2 goalkeepers.
I saw something like that as well today, actually.
I wouldn't surprise me, Phil, with Sinisalo. I think, okay, so I mean, it's not the same agreement that he probably had with Rodgers or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Martin will look at Stevie Woods and ask him and say, okay, well, what's the plus side here? I mean, that could be the one. I mean, if he ends up, if for some reason they come all over us and he has a standout game like a Fraser Foster or an Arthur Boric type game, then Martin's got a big decision to make. But I trust Martin to make I trust him to make those big decisions. So, you know, yeah, I think Sinisalo looks good, and I'd like to see him come in. You know, he gets the ball out from the back a lot quicker. I think his actions, his reflexes, everything about him looks really good. He looks great technically. It just like seems he doesn't have the hours. And the catch-22 is we can't give him the minutes or the hours because we're still playing Schmeichel. And I really hope we're not doing an Aaron Moy where we're trying to fulfil his World Cup ambitions, that we're waiting to see what happens with the World Cup, whether we introduce Sinisalo or no. I'd like to think that we're getting there on merit. And right now, yeah, I think you give Sinisalo that chance to merit it, because I don't think Schmeichel's been great.
Oh, Schmeichel's not been great, but I think he will go for Schmeichel. Most people in the chat are saying it'll be Schmeichel, and I tend to agree, but it's just as Sinisalo. If the manager does get changed, we do appoint a permanent manager in the next few weeks, or whatnot. Maybe when the Scottish Cup rolls around, then maybe Sinisalo will get back in there. But as I say, at least we know we've got a really steady backup goalkeeper if Schmeichel is injured or whatever. We've all Sinisalo to fall back on. I've got no worries about him. It's not like the days where we had Arthur Boric, then like Mark Brown was the number 2 keeper. Like, remember those days? So it's like we've got a good alternative there. But I think with the way things are currently, and it's a sort of it's win or bust decision. We need to get by this game, and we need to try and pick up that trophy because our season needs a real kick right now. I think it's going to be Schmeichel. I think he's going to go with that. They say the plan's out the window, the agreement's out the window. If Brendan was going to play Sinisalo all the way to the final, if we got there, I'm afraid this needs must at the moment, so it's probably going to be Schmeichel. And I think Trusty will keep his place, and Scales will be alongside him, which again makes sense. It won't be Dane Murray, put it that way. The midfield, it was Engels, McGregor, and Nygren that started. Once again, Benjamin Nygren had one of those games, Liam, where he was trying to do everything, as you said the other night. It was like a montage of every Swedish player that's ever played for Celtic when you looked at Sturm Graz performance. It was the same against Falkirk. He missed sitters, he scored, he was trying to do wee fancy flicks when they coming off, then he'd play like a good pass or a good cross. And it was just like a whole plethora of just everything, a mishmash when it comes to Benjamin Nygren. I still don't know how I feel about him. Obviously, his numbers and his stats show that he's very productive. He certainly gets involved and he doesn't hide. But Jesus Christ, he's so up and down right now. But I think he will be in the team. He does definitely give us something in the midfield. Whether it's all good stuff, I don't know. But I was kind of glad to see Hatate drop out the team because he has been a big problem. Last week against Hearts, the first half, like McGregor was actually having a really good game, but everything he was doing was getting negated by Rio Hatate next to him. It was like Hatate was just abysmal last week, and it's not the first time he's had an abysmal game, so I was quite happy to see that happen. But I think just again with what's available to Martin O'Neill right now, I guess it'll have to be Nygren, McGregor, Engels. Yeah, but I thought if Bernardo was going to feature in any way this weekend, he would have to have got some game time on Wednesday night, and obviously he didn't feature. So McCown obviously came on and looked all right. So maybe McCown might be the X factor there. It might not be Engels, but McGregor's a certainty, and I think Nygren keeps his place in the team at the very least, Liam.
I think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if he changes the shape. I mean, it's the one thing everybody else is crying out for. That gives him a chance to play a back three of Tierney, Scales, and Trusty.
Mm-hmm.
And the mid, then you've got Sriracha, you got Engels, McGregor, Nygren, and then maybe Donovan, and having both the fullbacks bomb up and down. And then in the front, you've got Dizan and maybe Tenetsky, and have them play off each other. I mean, that's one of the formations you could go, and I think that'd be interesting because the one thing Rangers have always done is they've dominated Callum McGregor's midfield an awful lot lately, and I don't see us having done anything to fix that either way. So I think that's one. If you look at the previous games where Rodgers has struggled against this Rangers team, it's when they clog that midfield and they overpower us in the midfield. And we keep passing it for the back to the midfield, but the midfield player is running towards the back and passes back. And a lot of the times our passes aren't accurate enough, or our player didn't move fast enough to anticipate that ball. And it ends up, we've lost control and now have players running towards our goal with the ball. That really, really frustrates me. And I think by having an extra anchor in the middle and let that be Arnie Engels, it would look a lot better. I think Kieran Tierney, Marshall in a back three, that would be good. And I think as if he gets tired in that, well, hopefully at that point we can switch somebody else on.
See what you're describing that there. It's just dawned on me we've got a lot of left-footed players in this team, haven't we? Because if we were to say play a back three and do what you said there, Trusty, Scales, and Tierney are all left-footed, and it's like, then you've got Sriracha's left-footed, McGregor's left-footed, Nygren's left-footed. It's like we've got a real imbalance. Too many left-footers, man. We need to try and balance that out. So, I mean, I'd love to see a change of shape, but yeah, I think if them all being in the same foot would be a bit of a problem. I think for the balance of the team and passing out from the back in particular. But I think we can get away with Trusty and Scales, and the centre backs and Trusty playing on the right, because apparently Brendan said, he can't do that because of, he likes the balance of a right-footed one and a left-footed one, but Trusty was fine on, and he's played in the right side before. And think back to the days with Ange, where we had to play Carl Starfelt on the left side, and he was right-footed and whatnot. Say most people would kill for Carl Starfelt these days because of the way our defence has been in recent times. But no, it can happen and they can get away with it. But if we were playing a back three and they were all left-footed, and then, that would be, and most of the midfielders in front of them are left-footed and all, Jesus, we would have a bit of an imbalance there. But yeah, I do think in terms of the midfield, it's going to be McGregor, Nygren, and Engels probably does make the most sense. They'll most likely want to come off the bench, probably Luke McCown, and say Bernardo, if he was going to feature on Wednesday, might have been in with a shout of being involved. But again, I think Bernardo, it's a weird one. We'll wait and see what the future holds for Bernardo. But, again, Martin. We'll just go with probably the same midfield as Wednesday night. Now, the forward line is an interesting one. Johnny Kenny did score 2 goals, did have a few misses as well, but Daizen Maeda did come on. James Forrest got praise from the manager on Wednesday night. I've said about James Forrest this season, if the choices are between him and Yang, if that's the only choices I've got for the right-hand side, I'm taking 34-year-old James Forrest to start, even though I think Wednesday night was probably his best performance from starting the game. I think he's been very good coming off the bench. Maeda obviously had a wee run at the right side, the right wing in games recently. Would he be moved back there? Would you put Maeda through the middle? For me personally, I would have Maeda through the middle. If he is in any way fit enough to play, I would be starting him. I know Johnny Kenny scored 2 through the week, but there's no time for sentiment here. Well done, Johnny Kenny, on scoring the 2 goals. But Daizen Maeda, as you've said plenty of times, is easily our best centre forward right now. Even in the minging form that he's been this season, with the way the team is right now, with what's left, he is literally the best striker option we have. And for me, I'd be starting him through the middle. If he is fit enough to start, he has to start for me, Liam.
I think Daizen Maeda responds well to positive football. If we are doing free-flowing, free-scoring football where we're just up and down the park, and we're looking at chances and opportunities, yeah, I think he'll do better. When he was getting opportunities on a regular basis, he was burying them. Mm-hmm. And so I think we just need to get in that so he's getting service. Let's get him the ball a few times, see what it's like. The James Forrest thing, agree with you there. I mean, remember one of the first players O'Neill brought in the first time? Did he bring in Steve Guppy with him?
He did bring Steve Guppy. Aye, Steve Guppy came in. Steve Guppy signed at the second season for Manny. He signed alongside Mo Silla and John Hartson. I want to say the 3 of them were unveiled together. But yeah, Steve Guppy.
And so I think he was a similar age when he came in to us as well. And like Martin O'Neill being a former winger himself, I'm really hoping that give Forrest a role. But I think more importantly, if you can get some sort of leash on Negrin to try and just give him a role so that he's only doing 2 things right. He's just singing the Benny part at ABBA. He doesn't have to be all 4 of the members. Just do the Benny part, right? That's all we're asking you to do. You be Benny, you're fine, right? Benny Negrin. So I think we just need to get him doing that because, again, he's doing too much. He's trying to get a crowd going. He's trying to bust the net. He's trying to be here and everywhere. And I'm hoping O'Neill can just sort of get, bridle on that enthusiasm to just sort of say, okay, you would be a really, really good player if you didn't try to do everything and try to be everything. Just sort of figure out, okay, here's the 3 things that you're good at. Let's see if we can get you to just spin on those and be positive in every sense when you see those opportunities. Bang, apply. And then hopefully that one of those is to feed James Forrest in a way that lets him either cut in or get to the byline. And because, we've got a big park there, and let's see how we go on. This is all about, I think, coming out and starting fast. Mm-hmm. We'll play around with the substitutes and we'll see what we have to, wind out the game if we need to, So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this game. I really am. Because, again, you get to see something. You get to see all the things that we've talked about in podcasts, all the things that we think were wrong with Brendan Rodgers. We'll get to see some of that corrected. And a lot of times you go, oh, yeah, I'm right. Mm-hmm. And I think we see that as a lot of Celtic fans. You just have to read the chat here and see the people that agree.
In the chat, a lot of people are calling for Johnny Kenny has to start. I mean,
is it?
We'll agree to disagree, viewers. They were all allowed different opinions, but for me, I don't see. I mean, just a week ago against Hearts, fans were losing their minds. What, Johnny Kenny up front, and now 2 goals against Falkirk, and I mean, okay, fair enough. You can say he deserves to start, but this is a game against Rangers. Regardless of how much a riot Rangers have been this season, this is like a must-win. We have got to get back to winning ways. You've said it enough times, Liam. 2025, we've had a stinking record in big must-win games. So this is now Brendan Rodgers is away. We've changed that element. That was one of the elements that was holding us back in that. And now he's away. Here we go. This is the first must-win game in the new regime. And yeah, to me, I say if Maeda is fit enough to start, I would have him on. But a name that I brought up there, for me, McIntosh's comment, Callum Osmond, I thought looked really sharp, and I was delighted to see him actually get some minutes. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but I think he's also had a raw deal like Shin Yamada. Everyone's been going about Yamada and whatnot, but Callum Osmond, like again, Brendan's made a comment allegedly about this boy was going to feature in the first team. He's not had a sniff, but obviously Martin O'Neill's there. He's looking at what's available to him right now. Him and Shaun Maloney are just casting an eye over everybody. I thought Osmond looked pretty sharp when he came on. His movement was pretty good. He was getting stuck in there. Just didn't, have the finishing touch in the end because, the service didn't get to him. But he looked very sharp, and I'm just glad to see him actually get a wee run out there. Yamada, will he get featured in the next few weeks? Remains to be seen. But what did Simpson Tuesday? Yeah, that one. He didn't appear yet, but that's an interesting one.
I'm more surprised Osmond being on that than a Manchester City player that came and has actually played game time rather than a boy that's played less than 100 minutes of football. That's surprising, huh?
Aye. No, it is very much so. Although here's a comment that just came up, by the way, and this is actually a fair play from Graham Tyrrell. Maeda on the right, Kenny up front. That could obviously work. So I would just have Maeda in there, whatever means necessary. I think Maeda has to start. I know James Forrest did have a decent game on Wednesday night, and the manager did single him out. But as I said, every performance Forrest has had this season, his best stuff has came when he came off the bench with 20 minutes to go. Whatever, he's looked a lot sharper coming into a game rather than starting a game. I thought Wednesday night was the best he's looked starting, but every other game he started, he's been pretty much invisible. So for me, we need to get Maeda in there, whatever way necessary. And Maeda looked sharp as well when he came on right away. He's chasing down those lost causes, the ball getting passed back to Scott Bain in the Falkirk goal, and he's closing them down right away. He just came back for an injury. Me and my mate are sitting in the stands watching. Like, he's going to end up injuring himself again just by chasing a lost cause. But right away, no fear, just chasing down Scott Bain, going for that ball, and it's like he looks like he's up for it here. So to me, I think the Rangers game usually brings out the best in Maeda. Usually enjoys a wee game against them. So for me, I've got to get Maeda in there. But
I'd like to entertain actually putting Johnny Kenny in the wing.
Johnny Kenny.
You look at Johnny Kenny, and I look at a lot of the best moments I've seen. He's been racing down the wing, and I've seen him take the ball in that position, and I've always think he's done really well of getting past his man from that 20 feet outside the 18-yard box sort of position. Mm-hmm. He's done well in that area, so I've seen him going. Maybe putting him in the right wing as well, and just saying, okay, not so look at positions, but look at attributes. Does he have the attributes to give him a role on the wing and see what he can do with that? He's definitely he's got the pace.
Aye. And Graham Tyrrell throwing this one in there as well. Maeda and Tanetti switch at some point, so Tavernier will not know what to do. We know how Tavernier doesn't enjoy a game against Dyson Maeda, so we're hoping that we can find that Maeda of a year ago where he was terrorised them. And Tanetti is an unknown. Tanetti, did he play against them in September, did he? No, he'd only just joined, but he didn't feature in that game, did he? I can't even remember.
No, I think Balakucha did.
Balakucha did, that's right. So he did. Balakucha had that moment where he was mysteriously pulled back for a foul that wasn't. Engels pinged a long ball over him, and he was basically past Tavernier, and he was in, essentially. And John Beaton, I think was the ref, just decided, no, that's a foul, actually. And yeah, that's probably the only notable thing that bloody happened in that game. It was so bad. But yeah, hopefully it's no as bad. Well, I say it can be the worst game ever on Sunday, but if Celtic get the victory, then I don't think we'll really care. Because right now, with what's available in the team, the situation we find ourselves in, we just need to paste something together and get through this game on Sunday, because this game is huge. Cannot be stressed enough with the way our seasons are panning out. Both Celtic and Rangers, to win the League Cup in the middle of the season is a real good boost going into the sort of January, the winter period and whatnot. And yeah, both teams need it for different reasons. We need it because we are on a horrible run against Rangers. We need to turn that around. And yeah, the results are going to lift the mood. What would be better than getting a win over Rangers and heading off into a final when you've got a shot at winning the first trophy against Motherwell or St Mirren? But the question is, Liam, will come Sunday night, will Celtic be in that final against Motherwell or St Mirren? How do you think it's going to go, mate?
Okay. All right. This is Martin O'Neill we're talking about here. I'll just put it out there right now. We're going to absolutely dominate them. I think this team is a lot better than we think it is. We've seen them dominate games before, and I think Rangers are there to be dominate. I think they've got far more pressure going into this game than we have. They've not turned a corner in any way. We might have, but I think this looks more positive for us right now with Martin O'Neill and that, because we do have better players. We've got better players. We've got players that have won before. We've got a manager that's been in big games before against Rangers. Their manager, this is the first time for them. If he was going up against Brendan Rodgers, I'd give him a chance, because who knows what was going on with Brendan right now. But going up against Martin O'Neill, nah, you're up against a sly old fox, and let's take all that ageism and throw it out the window, because we're dealing with a wizard of football here. And I think he's going to know exactly what to say to get this team going. He's going to figure out the right way to do it. I've got confidence in Martin O'Neill.
Well, let's have a look at what the chat are saying before I give my prediction. So Patrick McLaughlin says 3-2 is Celtic. Edward McGuigan is saying it's going to be 4-1. Smell the Glove says 2-1. Negrin and Kalmak were thunder bastard. Would that be something? McGregor's not scored a goal. Have we even scored a goal for outside the area this season? It's a hard press to find one. 2-0 from Jim C. Typhoon McFostery says 5-1. That would be a typhoon of epic proportions if we blew them away with 5-1. John says 2-0 Celtic. 66 Kev1 also says 2-0. Scott Howe saying 3-1 Celtic. So it's all very positive. I saw 6-2 earlier. Somewhere earlier on in the show, I saw somebody say 6-2's nailed on. Oh, there you go. Graham Tyrrell saying 6-2. On the tick mix says 4-0. 420 saying 2-0. God, it's all positive. I think it's going to go all the way through extra time. I think we're going to go into extra time at the very least. I do think it will be a game lacking in quality, but I think we're going to have to dig deep and grind it out. And I say, if we play a bit underwhelming but still win it, that's all that matters, really. That's all people will care about at the end. But I think at this stage, it's going to be a bit of an ugly contest from both teams, because, yeah, they've both been underwhelming as hell this season. So I do think that, but I'll say Celtic win, but it's going to be a tough watch, I think, and we're going to have to hide behind the couch a little bit, Liam, and grind it out. But I think we'll get there in the end. But do not let it go to penalties. I can't stress enough, because I would not be backing as a penalty shootout right now. Maybe though with new manager, maybe the mentality will be different. But the last two penalty shootouts, we have been weak as piss, as Brendan Rodgers was once spotted saying about Austin Trusty. So I don't want to go to penalties. Celtic have always been pretty rubbish at penalties anyway, so we don't want to find ourselves in that position. But I think it might be an extra time shot, and we'll grind it out there. But as long as we've won it at the end of it, then obviously I won't care how we do it. So I'm going to be less confident. I know a lot of confident score lines coming in. People saying we're going to romp it and whatnot. I think it's going to be a KJ affair, Liam, but we might have to wait on. It's going to have to be an extra time shot for me. But I'll say a Celtic victory, but it's going to be tough.
Well, are we still without the Green Brigade and the boys?
I think so. I think they're missing for it for the whole pyrotechnics thing last season or whatever. The 500 tickets removed and whatnot. So I think that's still in play, I believe. So
I mean, I don't know. Let's just hope the team, everybody gets behind the team there as well. If there is sack the board stuff as well too, let's whatever that does.
Both sets of fans are going to be chatting sack the board, because they want their board out for different reasons as well. Two teams that have just been a bit underwhelming this season, trailing hearts, and yeah, both sets of fans hating the board as well. So it's like, what again? Scottish football, mate. You couldn't have predicted this at the start of the season that this is where it would be, but here we are. Here we are, mate. Both teams changing their manager, wanting the board, both sets of fans, both ultras groups banned as well from pyrotechnics last season, because they obviously got sanctioned.
New managers.
The manager, I know. It's just what's even going on? It's Scottish football unmatched. But yeah, we will head off then, folks. That's been another Friday Feel. That's been an hour and 20 minutes. They're always a bit around 20 nowadays, the Friday Feeling, but we hope you've enjoyed it. It's been fun. Again, thank you, everybody, for helping us to get to the 1,000 mark, and long may it continue. Here's to the next 1,000. Why stop there? As Ange Postecoglou once said, we never stop. So yeah, we'll be looking to get to the next milestone along the way. So hit your like button on the way out. If you've only just discovered us, then by all means hit the subscription button on the way out, the bell notification. And yeah, we will be back on Sunday. Terry will be in the hosting chair for that. I am not going to the game. I did not get a ticket for it. Somebody earlier on the chat says to me to charge my phone for Sunday because it's all digital tickets. Phil doesn't have a ticket. He did not get one. So I shall be watching from home. So I'm going to say tentatively, I might jump on the post-match, but every time I have been on post-match this season, it's been a bad result. And I know I'm seen as sort of like the calm head around here, and sometimes you need calm heads when it's a bad result, but I'm also kind of sick of, I feel like I'm the bad luck charm, Liam. Every time I come on the post-match, it's a bad result. So I've started to feel like maybe I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the one that's causing this. So I don't know. We'll wait and see.
As long as you've got us, Terry Reid.
But Terry will be definitely hosting it up, and whoever's on with him, we shall wait and see. There will be availability. I might be on, I might not. Liam might be on, maybe no. Either way, there will be a post-match show after the game on Sunday. So fingers crossed, everybody, that Celtic are lifting that trophy on Sunday night. To kickstart, they're not just lifting the trophy. We'll be lifting it in December if we get through. I thought it was the final for side. I had just a brain fart. We need to get to the final first because we've still got to play Motherwell, St Mirren. But it'll be a big step in the right direction. So hopefully Celtic are in that position. They're in that final. And we can look forward to hopefully kickstarting the season properly in December. But that's still to come. So first things first, let's get Rangers out of the way. Let's go and do this. Celtic is... Now is the time, Celtic. We say it, 2025 has been a stinker for big games. We've had an absolute shocker, but now is the time, Celtic. So let's go and get it done on Sunday, and we'll see you for the post-match, guys. So thanks for watching tonight, and we'll catch you later. Enjoy your weekend, folks. On the Celtic, let's do it.